Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Wednesday night edition of Sir Hunt on X, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, here in the United States. Hope everyone had themselves a wonderful 15th of January 2025. Blistering cold today here in Cincinnati, because when I went to work, I swear I thought I was going to have my nostrils frozen because my nose was cold in 3-degree temperatures. I mean, just blistering cold earlier today. Had to bundle up more than I've ever bundled up in the last 20 years because I know how to survive the cold, but this was a whole new ballpark. It was just absolutely blistering cold. I swear I thought my nerve froze. I thought my hands were going to go numb early in the morning. But man, 3-degree temperature. Good luck trying to survive in that. Uh, that was the temperature here in Cincinnati. It's going to get better, but of course, after the weekend, if you all are living in Cincinnati, embrace yourselves because the 2 days of the so-called Arctic blast, or whatever the hell they want to call it, is coming through. And I hope everyone finds a way to stay warm and safe. And I'm gonna try and do the same, but we'll see how that goes. Again, hope everyone had themselves a wonderful day today. Just touch on a few things today because this is going to be it for me for the week. And we'll start with, of course, the divisional playoff that's taking place this weekend. Get my picks in because I guess everybody wants to, so I'm going to get mine in here real quick. Saturday afternoon, it is in Arrowhead, where it is the Houston Texans going against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think it's going to be the wipeout some people are thinking. I think Houston should be bloom of confidence after how they beat the Chargers the other day, simply because everyone called that game the bye week for the Chargers. Houston played with a chip on their shoulder, and the defense just stepped up and just made life heck for Justin Herbert. When you consider some of the tackle issues that goes on in Kansas, might have something going over there. Offensively, you know, we still have C.J. Stroud. You have Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, who I thought ran solidly against the Chargers. And of course, the game clinching touchdown to basically seal it. But they're going against a team that's been there, done that, who's going to be well rested after a 21-day break. You're talking about the premier head coach, the premier quarterback, the premier defensive coordinator, and Steve Spagnuolo. And it's going to be a case of experience is going to show. I saw the spread at like nearly 9 points, which I think is a little too wide. I think Houston covers some of that, but Kansas City is still going to walk away with a W simply because they're on a quest for history. They know what it takes to win in games like this when it matters most. As long as they have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, and the championship pedigree they've still had over the past 6, 7 years, they're gonna win these games. Mahomes has never lost a divisional round playoff game. Actually, he hasn't thrown an interception, which is crazy. So I expect that trend to continue. I think Houston makes a dogfight out of it, makes it competitive to where people are going to think something is going to happen, but Kansas is going to make the plays necessary to win at home. And Kansas will go on to their 8th straight AFC Championship game. And the 7th time, they're going to host it at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas goes on into advance. And of course, in the other AFC game, it's Sunday afternoon between Baltimore and Buffalo. A real coin flip. Of course, the story here is whether or not Zay Flowers is going to play for Baltimore. He got hurt in the season finale. Didn't play against Pittsburgh, but didn't need him for that. Not sure they really. I don't want to say they really don't need him or not, especially when you consider how well Rashad Bateman's played and the two tight ends, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Of course, you have the quarterback Lamar Jackson and the running back Derrick Henry, and a defense who wasn't all that great to begin the season, playing significantly better, led by Marlon Humphrey. Going against Buffalo, of course, has their MVP candidate in Josh Allen, who basically turned it up in the second half against Denver and basically just shut them down. This game is going to come down to, I think, who makes the most right plays at the right time, because both quarterbacks in recent playoff history, as we know, haven't been necessarily the greatest when the time comes. I think the Derrick Henry factor, I think, may be the one that I tip the nod toward, and I probably give the slimmest nods to Baltimore on the road. I think it's going to be a great game either way. Might be the game of the weekend, a real pick'em game. I think the line was like only a point for Baltimore. I understand it. I mean, you have the premier quarterback, the premier quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes, and the premier running back, not named Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, and a team that's basically waiting for this moment. Buffalo's had a stellar season. I mean, Josh Allen closed a lot of mouths this year, especially when you consider his efficiency level, and probably a favorite to win the MVP. I think odds makers have him the favorite right now. I'm going to give the slimmest, and I'll be at the slimmest of nods to Baltimore on the road, simply because I think the Derrick Henry factor is what's going to be the difference. Give me Baltimore on the road. I think it's going to be a last possession game. And if it comes down to the kickers, I'll be neither guy has been great this season. Who do I trust more? Justin Tucker of Baltimore or Tyler Bass of Buffalo? Justin Tucker kicks field goals to the uprights. Tyler Bass kicks field goals wide right. Let's just tell you who you should trust in that game when it comes to field goal kicking. So give me Baltimore on that one. I think it's going to be a field goal difference either way. Probably the game of the weekend. Now to the NFC side. We might have let me just say this first one has an upset alert written all over it. It is Washington at Detroit. We know Detroit's defense has been absolutely just demoralized. I mean, demoralized all over the place. Simply because you look secondary here, a safety here, a cornerback here, another safety comes in, he's gone, another cornerback guy, he's out. I can't think of the names off the minute. Of course, the brutal one was Aiden Hutchinson, the standout edge on the edge on the defensive side for Detroit. Got a gruesome injury against Dallas. Feeling as he may come back if they manage to get to the Super Bowl, which I think would be an inspirational uplift for that Lions defense. Going against a very, very confident Jaden Daniels. I've been on this Jaden Daniels bandwagon all season long because I saw him week 3 when he came to Cincinnati, and he just played like a guy who's been there, done that. I mean, the poise he plays with, the way he moves in the pocket, the way he finds Terry McLaurin in all kinds of coverage that McLaurin sees out there. And of course, the running backs he utilizes with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. Jaden Daniels is going to be a problem for a long time. And let me remind you about how Detroit played against Minnesota. I didn't think they played all that great on defense. It's just Sam Darnold went back to being Sam Darnold, throwing passes 5 feet high, 7 feet long, 10 feet under the receivers. Jaden Daniels is not going to do that. But maybe the only issue I see in this, I think, is going to come down to who's going to make the plays in that field. I have Detroit on the upset alert simply because I think if Detroit plays the way they did down the stretch of the season, because their defense was just terrible the last few weeks, you're going against a very confident Jaden Daniels who might just pull the shocker over here. The spread, I believe, I can remember what the spread was. I think it was something like 6 or 7. I think Washington finds a way to cut into that, makes us close. And as much as I put Detroit still in the upset alert, I think they find a way to escape on their home field, and I think barely. It's going to come down to which quarterback is going to make the plays necessary. I think Jared Goff will find a way to make the plays necessary to escape a red hot and a very confident Washington team who's just playing excellent football right now. I mean, as much as I want to tilt the nod to Washington, I'd like to see Jaden Daniels pull this off because he's just been absolutely sensational. And I told everyone that Chicago should have drafted him over Caleb Williams. My point was proven. Look at Jaden Daniels now. But I think Detroit is just going to find a way on their home field to eke this one out. Give me the Lions at home. But I'll say this. They're still on upset alert because my pick of Detroit, I'm picking it with my heart coming out of my mouth because this one I think is more of a pick'em game than people think. I think that one's going to be a pretty darn good one over there. Might be a shootout. And of course, the other one is the Rams at the Eagles. If I'm a Philly fan, I'm not confident in how they looked in recent weeks, especially when they beat Green Bay. Their biggest luck out was Jordan Love got banged up, and of course, no Christian Watson on the offense, no Jair Alexander on the defensive side. Jalen Hurts didn't look all that great. He was basically just carried by Saquon Barkley, per usual. Going against a very confident Rams team with Matthew Stafford and those 2 receivers, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Of course, their defense just mauled and just beat down the Minnesota offensive line and Sam Darnold. I don't think it'll be quite that decisive simply because they're going against a better offensive line in Philadelphia, led by Lane Johnson. But I think they're going to make a much better impact than people think. I think Philly I thought all along they were sort of on borrowed time for the most part. I think it ends here. I like the confidence the Rams are playing with, and I expect the two receivers, Cup and Nakua, to have their moments here. And I think if it comes down to who do I trust more, Matthew Stafford or Jalen Hurts, give me the guy that's been there, done that in Super Bowl 56. That is Matthew Stafford. I'm taking the Rams and the upset here. I think this one's going to be a one touchdown game either way. Pretty darn good game. I'm taking the Rams and the upset. That one I think could go either way also. I'm just not thrilled with how Philly looked against Green Bay. Outside of Saquon Barkley, they lucked out because Jordan Love couldn't pass it to the other side of the barn in that game. Matthew Stafford isn't going to make the mistakes Jordan Love made that day. So give me the Rams on that one. Quick review, my 4 picks: Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, and the Rams. Actually, think about the NFC title game for just a second. Matthew Stafford going to Detroit for a chance to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That would feed families. So that's my picks for the weekend. Of course, speaking of Baltimore, something interesting that took place today. I didn't know this like minutes before I left the building, that they claimed recently released Dionte Johnson off of waivers from the Texans. The guy can't play a playoff game, and he's probably going to never see it down in Baltimore because we know what happened when he was there the previous time. I guess it's only so you can gain a compensatory third-round pick out of it. I don't know what this is going to relate to because I've never seen this before. Weird to explain it, but I'm not even going to try to digest this because everyone all over the place is still trying to figure this one out. I mean, Baltimore just released him, didn't they? He goes to Houston, and I don't know what the heck happened in Houston. And now this happens. Baltimore claims him, I guess, to try and get a compensatory third-round pick out of it. It's just a weird situation. But I said all along, I would be surprised if Dionte Johnson steps foot on another NFL field ever again. And I say this simply because he's burnt. If you're going to burn bridges with Mike Tomlin, DeMeco Ryans, and John Harbaugh, good luck trying to find a team that will take you. And that team that takes you isn't going to be successful. I mean, the guy basically was empty calories in the time he was in Carolina, now before he got traded to Baltimore. We know what happened there. Refused to go in. Baltimore, suspended him indefinitely till they finally cut him. And we had, at the end of the day, a mess over there. He goes to Houston. Out of nowhere. I don't know what happens. Houston decides to cut him. Baltimore claims him. It's just a mess. I mean, if Mike Tomlin can't get to you, if John Harbaugh can't get to you, if DeMeco Ryans can get to you, nobody's going to get to you. Not even a guy like Andy Reid or who's a proven winner. Good luck down the line, Dionte Johnson. You're going to need it. And speaking of the AFC North, the team up in the Northeast Ohio, the Cleveland Browns, are back on the news again for all the wrong reasons again. This comes out actually over the past week. Well, first let's get out of the way. They said Deshaun Watson, the $230 million man, had a setback in his rehab, and then the guy has apparently re-ruptured his Achilles, and now it comes out the coach Kevin Stefanski is trying to, I guess, to paraphrase, to try to suit his talents to get him to suit Deshaun Watson. I told you guys in Northeastern Ohio when this trade happened, this was going to be the result. Many people told you guys in Northeastern Ohio this was going to be the result. Why do the Cleveland fans still insist on wanting this guy on their roster? Why did the Cleveland media, especially that idiot Mary Kay Cabot, whatever that coward's name is, wants him on that roster? Why does Jimmy Hagglund feel the need to want to invest in this guy who I said all along checked out in the 2019 Divisional in Kansas City as a member of the Houston Texans? After being spotted a 24-0 lead, he gets dog walks 51-7. Goes to the 2020 season, has a mediocre season. This 2021 self-imposed holdout, and then the 2022 season, the trade happens. It seemed like this they would have put this thing down everybody's throat. When they got him in 2022, every idiot in Cleveland, and I say idiot to be nice with this, every idiot fan, every idiot super fan, every idiot media person like Mary Kay Cabot, whatever the hell her name is, Every idiot content creator thought when they signed Deshaun Watson to this contract, they was going to run Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow out of Baltimore and Cincinnati, respectfully. Right now, those two fan bases are just laughing at you to the last drop, and you're getting exactly what you deserve. And now you guys want to jump off the bus after you wanted this guy, thinking you're going to run Jackson and Burrow out of Baltimore and Cincinnati. Everybody out there in Northeastern Ohio is getting 100% exactly what you deserved, because I and many others tried to tell you this was going to be the result. You guys didn't want to listen. Now what you guys can do, get off this app, find that bed you made a long time ago, go lie in it, and cease to exist. Because we told you, now you guys want to jump off the Titanic? No, you can stay on the Titanic and sink with it, because we told you and you didn't want to listen. You're still trying to push this guy down people's throats. You still think this contract was going to run Jackson and Burrow out of the AFC North? Not happening. Right now, both of them are just sitting back laughing at this, especially their respective fan bases in Baltimore and Cincinnati. Congratulations, Cleveland. You made an ASS out of yourself. And as they say about assume, you make an ASS out of you and me. That's you guys in Cleveland right now. You made that bed. Get off the app. Go lie in it. Go sink with the Titanic, because you guys are just as irrelevant as that franchise right now. I'm done talking about this topic, because every time something comes up, it's a way to throw it in the faces of everybody in the NFL, from the owners, teams, players, fans, etc. Now that concludes my NFL talk. Some actually quick touch on the college football over a couple of days. Shout out to Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, well-deserved coaches in the College Football Hall of Fame. Their resumes and track records speak for themselves. Kudos, well-deserved. Over here in Cincinnati, with such a soccer subject before I get into boxing, everybody knows I bleed blue and orange FC Cincinnati. Shout out to Nick Hagglund, the outstanding defender, getting the new contract for a 3-year deal. And right now, you're looking good. I mean, I know you had the injury late last season. It's supposed to be back here soon, hopefully sooner rather than later, because the FC Cincinnati defenders were thinner than thin ice going into last season. But you got the contract. You're one of the fan favorites here. I try to share a little story. First FC Cincinnati game I went to a couple years back. In front of me was actually members of his family wearing his jersey. And you can see the Hagglund and his jersey number like 3 rows in front of me. A season ticket holder next to me told me that's Nick Hagglund's family. I was like blown away. I mean, that whole row where I sat at, I think like 3 or 4 rows over, that entire row was basically Nick Hagglund's family. And of course, every time Nick Hagglund stepped on the field that year, the TQL Stadium in Cincinnati went nuts. They love this guy to the moon and back. I mean, he's a fan favorite over here. We all love you, Nick Hagglund. Congratulations on your contract. Get well soon, because FC Cincinnati sure needs you, because one, Matt Miago is a moron. 2, they're thin on defenders, and 3, I don't think they're going to spend any more money to get more quality players. So get well soon, Nick Hagglund. We all love you. Congratulations on your contract. Hope to see you on the FC Cincinnati soccer field soon over here at TQL. Now it takes care of all that. Now I'm going to talk about something real fun that took place a couple of days ago. I didn't get a chance to look into this. I was wondering what the Hub Pub was. Now I know. This was internet beef between Tank Davis and Terence Crawford. Let's start with this. It started with, I guess, they had the Ring Magazine Awards, wherever the frick they had it at. I don't know where it's at London, wherever the hell it is. I guess Tank Davis didn't get the invite. And according to this, I'm reading this as I'm going along, because I'm sort of new to this. Tank Davis said, basically started taking shots at Ring Magazine and the guy, whatever the frick his name is, Turk Al-Sheikh, feeling slighted. And of course, Terence Crawford, who sees it, basically comes out and just acknowledges that Tank Davis wasn't invited to the Ring Magazine gala. Understandably so, because I don't know what people want out of Tank Davis, because the guy has fake wins over fake fighters. Then Tank Davis feels this need to come out and blunt say, and what is now a deleted tweet off his IG account, I make more money than you. Terence Crawford probably had the greatest clapback of all time of this one. I love this. I'm gonna read this word for word. I don't read things word for word because I love this. This is Terence Crawford responding to the fake champion, Tank Davis. First thing a dumb rich person says to another rich person is, I make more money than you. I bet you owe more investments than you, and I don't owe $1 on taxes. Emoji with a wink. You can't buy nothing I can't buy that I want, sir, and that's a fact. Let's see who money lasts the longest, smart guy. And of course, they're still, I believe they're still beefing. That was basically the capper, because I think Terence Crawford just basically just committed internet murder on this fake fighter called Tank Davis. Terence Crawford will speak when necessary, and when he speaks loudly. Tank Davis and his moronic fans, basically the Al Heyman supporters, the biggest bunch of goofhead morons led by that idiotic coward Ray Jackson, or whatever the hell that idiot on X is, basically comes out here and tries to act like Tank Davis is the greatest thing boxing seen since sliced bread. 3 fake championships over a boatload of fake fighters. The only real relevant win was over Ryan Garcia after a wild, crazy weight class situation, which I don't know why he did, because I thought he would beat Ryan Garcia without it anyways. Terence Crawford, undisputed in 3 weight classes, and I will yet to see Tank Davis in a unification fight. I mean, the guy's ducked Loma for 8 years. Actually, the guy came out not too long ago, said he wanted $40 million to Ferraris and a Lamborghini to fight Vasily Lomachenko, when he's not even worth 40 pieces of a penny, chopped up like chopped liver. And the guy thinks he's in the same breath as Terence Crawford. The guy can't even carry the jockstrap of half the guys Terence Crawford beat. I mean, you think he's better than Julius Segundo? No. You think the guy's better than Errol Spence Jr.? No. You think the guy's better than Mean Machine? No. You think the guy's better than Ricky Burns? No. Yet Tank Davis, at his best, couldn't carry the jockstrap of half the guys Terence Crawford beat, because those guys would wipe the floor with him, because Tank Davis doesn't like fighting live bodies. We all know this. Now all of a sudden Tank Davis thinks he has the power to knock out a middleweight. I mean, who was the last guy that carried him the distance? I can't remember his name. I want to say Romero or somebody like that. Can't remember. I don't even care who the hell Tank Davis fights, because Tank Davis is an irrelevant fake champion. The guy Ray Jackson, I'll just say Ray Jackson closes the door and puts his hand in his pants every time he sees Tank Davis on TV. That's Ray Jackson. Terence Crawford basically came out of I think it was one of those videos. Basically said, if you want to test me outside, not in the boxing ring, outside, I'll break your neck. He probably could break his neck with one hand tied behind his back. I mean, Tank Davis is basically that far behind Terence Crawford. Well, I mean, what did Tank Davis gain out of this? I don't know. But Terence Crawford basically just buried him with that long tweet. It was basically end of conversation. We have idiots, especially that moron Ray Jackson, who were intentionally ignorant enough to think Tank Davis could beat Terence Crawford. If an idiot like Ray Jackson thinks Tank Davis can beat Terence Crawford legitimately and honestly, first thing he needs to do is shut up. Second thing he needs to do is get off the app. Third thing he needs to do is get checked to a Texas hospital for CTE. And if they ask why, all he has to do is say, I'm dumb enough to think Tank Davis can beat Terence Crawford. Somebody get those results, send them to me, and I'll go ahead and try to help his sorry butt. Because his brain basically is lacking in reading comprehension and boxing intelligence when it comes to something stupid like this. Anybody can make any freaking dollar in the fight game. We all know this. Floyd Mayweather did, Mike Tyson did, George Foreman did, Julio Cesar Chavez did, Manny Pacquiao. The list goes on and on and on and on. Ali Leonard, Ray Robinson, etc. What fighter A makes more than fighter B doesn't necessarily mean they're great. Mike Tyson can tell you this. He's said it many times in his Hot Boxing podcast. And maybe you guys, especially the Tank Davis fans, need to listen to that. I'll touch more on this later, because I know Tank Davis is going to be fighting some character called Lamont Roach. Of course, Crawford's supposedly getting ready for the big fight with Canelo. I'll believe it when I see it. So, but Terence Crawford buried Tank Davis And an idiot like Ray Jackson, who's dumb enough to think otherwise, needs to go to a hospital and check for CTE in the worst way possible. These St. Davis fans are something else. And I wrap it, of course, with my historical perspective. Of course, my shirt today, just want to share it with you. Of course, it was not about more Foreman. It was I did that last November. Actually took place 35 years ago today in Atlantic City. It involved, of course, this guy, Big George Foreman, when he knocked out Gerry Cooney in 2 rounds in a heavyweight fight. What's appalling to me was there was more people that covered this fight than they did for Hagler Hearns. Think about that. There were more people in press row for this event than the super fight between Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns, April 15, 1985. That says a heck of a whole lot with the storyline of George Foreman. At the time, viewed as I've said other shows about him, viewed as a joke, viewed as a laughing stock. Of course, Gerry Cooney had his demons in and out of the ring, especially after he got beat by Larry Holmes back in '82, trying to rekindle the fire for one last time. Billed as the preacher in Foreman's case against the puncher in Cooney's case. Started out the first round chess match. Actually, Cooney had his moments. Actually, won a punch where I thought he hurt Foreman, and even George acknowledged it to some extent. It looked like he was going to try and control the second round until a long jab and a long uppercut, and Cooney just stood straight still, and the Foreman tees off with a 1-2, another right, another left, and another 1-2. Down goes a 6-7 Gerry Cooney. Cooney gets up, the right hand up, the left hand uppercut, the overhand right. Down goes Cooney, down and out for the count. And George Foreman is your winner. It was this particular fight that people started to take George Foreman's comeback a little more seriously than before, simply because nobody thought he could hang. For him, it basically like a throwback to the way he's demolished opponents the way he did to Gerry Cooney on this day. Followed it up with a win over Adelson Rodriguez 4.5 months later, who was a top 10 heavyweight, got him in the rankings. And of course, you know the rest of the story. Got that fight with Holyfield, lost, won a title from Michael Moore. And of course, I talked about what he did afterward with the endorsements after winning the title, the grill, the commercials. And of course, he becomes a philanthropist. He still does, preacher, minister, as an evangelistic minister. Can't even pronounce that correctly. An evangelist minister down in Houston, Texas. And his career and his life is basically now one that's you tell your kids and grandkids about. And I can have like 80 podcasts if I want talking about how much I enjoyed just watching the story and following this guy's comeback. But this was a prototypical moment because there was some coming in. No one thought, Foreman's comeback was going to be anything serious. I think this is where he started to trend toward the serious side of it, and people started to slowly but surely take Foreman's comeback seriously because he started to crank the rankings in the top 10 system, in the so-called governing bodies, which is the biggest bunch of garbage, but it's another topic for another day. But the one-of-a-kind George Foreman basically put himself and his comeback on notice when he whacked Gerry Cooney in 2 rounds in Atlantic City. Of course, the life of Cooney itself, tailspin out of control with, substance abuse, did eventually get clean and straightened up. Now become an ambassador for fighters who are trying to live in a post-boxing career. One of the guys that speaks on Cooney's behalf is none other than Larry Holmes. So Cooney's actually done quite well for himself. Actually became great friends with the standout New York State Athletic Commissioner, Randy Gordon. And it's basically been an ambassador ever since, and it's lived a clean, sober life. And just a heck of a great guy every time I see him on television. I mean, shout out to Gerry Cooney for basically turning his life around because after the Holmes fight, that's when he went to the downward spiral, lost to Michael Spinks. And basically his career was basically over after this fight because he officially announced his retirement. So 35 years ago today, George Foreman put his boxing comeback on notice. The world now saw it. And basically this started to trend up to what happened in 1994. I could tell more stories about George Foreman if I want to, but there are other things I like to talk about too. I let the Foreman career and his life speak for itself. And that will wrap up this edition of Sirhan on X. I will be off for the weekend on the show. I will be back Monday. For those who follow me on the X platform, I'll be joining the Spaces tomorrow and the Spaces on Friday for more NFL talk. And I hope everyone out there has themselves a wonderful day, especially in Cincinnati. Do your best to stay warm. As you see, I got my bad boy going. But until then, good night. Take care. Sleep well. And as always, always, I always say this to everybody equally, make self-care your number one priority. Take care of yourself first. If you don't, otherwise, nothing else matters. Good night, everyone.